Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to the channel. My name is Fedorex and today we will continue our journey throughout the Ivris region. As promised in the last video, today we will go through some of the Route 1 Pokemon. Unfortunately today we can only see some of them, for two main reasons. One, I don't want to show too many Pokemon in only one video, as not to make things too cluttery and long. And two, now I know what to do for the next few videos. Okay, but being serious, if I included all of them in one video, it would have been 40 minutes long. And for my second video, that's a bit too much. So today we will go through the Route 1 normal type and the regional bird. Hope you're excited to see what I've come up with these two lines. Now, as usual, before anything else, I would like to thank my friends that have been helping me with most of the Ivris things I post. Cyber, who helps out with stats, abilities and occasionally names, and Plabkol, who helps with dex entries and the edit of the script. He is also a super cool and really funny... Hey, wait a second. Anyway, you can find the link to their pages down in the description. And if you want to discover the rest of the Ivris region by yourself, in the description you can also find the link to my Instagram, where a lot of the decks is already there for you to discover on your own, although many are being redrawn in this series. So look forward to that if you've come from the Instagram page. And with all of that out the way, I think we can officially begin. Let's begin this video with our Route 1 mammal. And yes, I mean mammal, not rodent, since I think that would more so fit the definition, as a good portion of them aren't even rodent in the first place. I mean, Lechonk is just a straight up pig, and I get that some people could confuse them as one before Gen 9 anyways, but they're definitely not. Mine will be similar to those that seem to be a rodent and fit the aesthetic, but aren't actually one. There are actually a lot of possible animals that could work for such a role, such as an opossum or a shrew. But in the end, I decided to make an hedgehog, as I think that could really work well. Not to mention, we don't actually have one in this series at the moment, although I suppose you could count Togedemaru as one. For the base stage, I didn't want to make something too crazy, as most of the classic Route 1 Pokemon are fairly simple in their design. The base stages of these Pokemon tend to just be the animal, but in the Pokemon art style. Although sometimes they could have some more fantastical features, like the purple color of Rattata or the hand ears of Bumblebee. For mine, I decided to transform the classic little spines of the hedgehog into big and metallic spikes, but overall the design still remains very simple. Let me present to you Spinehog, the hedgehog Pokemon, a pure normal type. Spinehog is a very shy Pokemon that is scared of almost anything. It usually prefers to run away from enemies instead of fighting them. But when there are big groups of Spinehog, they attempt to form a strange sort of structure that keeps any possible enemy away. The evolution to Spinehog wasn't going to be something completely different to the original concept, as usually the trend for the evolution of this type of Pokemon is just them getting a bit bigger and sometimes a bit uglier. Although the last generation did somewhat destroy this trend, with Oinkologne being fairly different to its pre-evolution. So for mine, I went with a sort of mix between the two. It will be bigger and more menacing, but it wouldn't define this as just a bigger Spinehog. To keep this from just being a bigger hedgehog with even more spikes, I decided to add elements of an ancient Roman soldier's helmet to the design. In fact, its entire body is now one massive Roman helmet. It may be a very simple design compared to most in the region, but sometimes simplicity is the best course of action when designing characters. Here comes Galhog, the helmet Pokémon, a normal and steel type. Galhog has the strongest form of defense in the entire Ivris region. When it's attacked, it curls up into a ball. Once doing so, nothing can break through its armor. It's been seen rolling around in its curled up state before, in order to move as safely as possible. Unfortunately, Galhog cannot see when doing this, so it tends to damage others accidentally by bumping into them. Whew, now that we're done with the mammal, let's move straight on the regional bird. Now, there's a unique problem when it comes to defining what a regional bird is, because some argue that a region can only have one regional bird, like in Galar with Corviknight. Meanwhile, others think there can be more than one, like in Hoenn with Pelipper and Swallow. For some of them, the bird absolutely needs to be placed in the first root or area of the region, meanwhile others argue that the location is not that important. For my sake, I decided to consult Bulbapedia for what defines a regional bird. There it says that the regional birds are these specific Pokémon. These to me are all the current regional birds. A common trend that seems always present with them is the idea of a small, innocent bird that becomes a predatory and intimidating one, and mine will be no exception. With that, let's begin. So, I decided that this little guy would be based on the European bee-eater, or as we call it in Italian, the gruccione. They are a species of bird that can be found all throughout Europe, which obviously includes Italy. This design doesn't have too many things going on, as just like Spinok being pretty much a hedgehog, this guy is basically just a bee-eater in the Pokémon style. I wanted to try and stylize it similar to Pikipek specifically, since I believe it is one of, if not the best, first stage for the Part-1 birds. Say hello to our friend Gruchik, the bee-eater Pokémon. Despite their cuteness, these Pokémon are little predators that like to hunt small Pokémon for food. It loves having company and it's extremely easy to train. Because of this, it's practically a staple on the teams of most younger Ivris trainer. Do you remember when I said before that the regional bird in the final stage usually becomes a predatory one? Well, here we begin to see that change in little Gruchik. In fact, I decided to transform this line into a kite. No, not that kite. This kite. There are species of ox that inhabit Italy, although this line will also incorporate some elements of that kite, but that be much more prevalent in the final stage. For now, let me just say that this guy is probably my favorite of this entire line. You know, I never actually thought about it before, but now I realize that the middle stages are often my favorite part of many different Pokémon lines. Strange, huh? Well, here is Grusabia, the bee hunter Pokemon, also a pure flying type. Grusabia is a formidable hunter that will track its prey for days, weeks, and sometimes even months to understand better how to hunt its food, so that it never fails to strike its target when attacking. It tends to hunt smaller Pokemon, but its favorite prey are the hives of combi littered throughout Ivris. Now, it's time for the final stage. So, at this point, very few elements remain from the Bee-Eater inspiration. It is now just a straight-up kite. But to spice things up a bit, this Pokemon will be a mix of three different things. The falcon called Kite, the kite that kids tend to play with, and the flying machine referred to as the Great Kite, which was made by Leonardo da Vinci, probably the most important man that ever lived. For this reason, I opted to add in some elements to the design that could remind you of these two inanimate kites, such as the sort of wisps near the tail and the bat-like wings. The secondary type was surprisingly easy to decide on, since the bee-eater hunts by digging in the sand and the kite lives primarily in sandy and desert areas. So yeah, this big boy will be a ground type. Let me introduce you to Temblaster, the kite Pokemon, a flying and ground type. Temblaster is one of the fastest Pokemon in the entire region, as it can reach a speed of 150 km per hour. It's great at maneuvering through the skies at high speeds, as it is carried by the wind itself. When it decided to go hunting, nothing can stand in its way. You had better be careful when approaching a Temblaster, as anything it has on its eyes when hunting is considered food. There you have it, folks. We have begun to make our way down Route 1 and encountered some interesting new friends while doing so. What do you think of these new Pokemon? Do you like them as much as I do? And would you add one of them to your team? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you next time, where I'll show you off the regional bug and a certain dark-type Pokemon that can be found on the first route. Thank you all for watching and ciao!